Good afternoon from Bali, everyone. It's Anita Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I would like to talk to you about two powerful forces that in Bali and in Hinduism are known as Shiva and Shakti. And Shiva and Shakti are energies, powers. Some would relate to a godlike power, which are actually within all of us. And if we were to look at it in terms of general communication, what we would understand as powers that are within us that we can use, it's relating to stillness and movement. Stillness and movement. And we all know that we need both of these. Sometimes we need to be still to take in a situation or just to stay steady in our thoughts, our words, our actions, to just be steady. And sometimes we need movement. So we need to express something, we need to think something, we need to move in a particular way. And this is power that works within, again, all of us, and yet a lot of us have lost control of these two areas, this stillness and this movement. So most people would understand that a lot of people are very reactionary, and rather than spending the time to be still and to respond in a healthy, a pleasant, a kind, and a considerate manner, we're basing a lot of our actions, or the world is, on previous training, previous impressions, previous ideas. And today I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about this idea. So I wanted to mention this first quotation, which says, Shiva is the stillness and Shakti is the movement. Their union brings about creation. Now, how can we see this? If we're thinking about there's stillness and there's movement, stillness and movement. And we can see that in stillness, a lot of energy can be gathered. So when we look at meditation or mindfulness, we're much more still. And of course, in our day-to-day life experiences, when there's that stillness, to find that stillness within allows for a wise movement rather than this impulsive, instinctive, and sometimes unhealthy movement. And oftentimes people will do this and justify this movement. And oftentimes we can think about our senses are, again, something that I've talked about a lot in my channel, and I hope that you'll look at those videos to understand that our senses are usually the things that stimulate us into movement. So I smell some food and I want to move towards that food. I see a sight and I want to move towards that sight. I have a mental impression of power, and maybe this means money, and I need to do some movement. Now remember, we can be still and thinking about all of this, and the movement of our mind is still happening. How do I process what I am experiencing through my senses? And this idea of this unity of Shiva and Shakti is so important in terms of anything that we create. So again, as we say, this union brings about creation. This next quotation actually also says, only when Shiva is united with Shakti does he have the power to create. Now remember, this is not a he and she, although sometimes in imagery it's seen as a he and she, but this is the masculine and feminine in all of us. And a lot of people might relate masculine to movement, which in Chinese medicine is very much about that yang energy. But this movement is actually coming from wisdom. So when we're looking at Shakti as wisdom, the movement comes from wisdom, the wise action, the wise words, the wise thoughts. And thoughts precede the words and the actions. And so today I wanted to make sure that we look at this in our day-to-day life experience. And you will probably notice that there's someone in your life that you've met or you have in your life because they're related to you, or they're a really good friend, or they were a really good friend, but there's someone that, just gets under your skin. You're good with everyone else, or you can be pleasant and energized and happy and really good, the best of yourself with everyone else, and yet that there's one person, they just bring out something in you. And you can think and reflect and think, oh yeah, it's because this experience happened with them before, and I will never forget that. Now that holding on is a movement of the mind too. I'm holding it. It's not really still. It's I'm playing with this. That in my mind, it's like, I will not forget this. I play with this. It's just here, ready to use when an opportunity arises, and an opportunity will arise. So what will happen is, well, I reacted because they said this, or they did this, or they looked at me this way, or their mannerism is this way, their tone is this way. We'll find some reason that matches that allowed me to react this way. And sometimes it can be a very controlled reaction. We can know reactions are not responses when it's kind of something based on previous memory, and that previous memory is acting in the now, and we see that, well, that's exactly what they did before, and this makes me really angry, so I react in an angry way. Now I can be angry, but I'm going to be a very controlled voice. I'm not happy with this. Exact same energy though. So whether we're yelling it or whether we're saying it very controlled, it's the same. Or we can just not speak, and that's a very controlled energy, very, very controlled energy. And yet it's a power that is not spreading positivity. It's I'm going to do this to bother that person. So all of these things are ways that people use this Shakti in a power against others. Now, when we're using Shakti in the best possible way, it's the way that nurtures myself and others. So if I nurture myself, I would respond like divinity energy, like a goddess, a god, a king, a ruler that's loving for everything it rules. Now, what does a ruler rule in this body? It rules our senses, it rules our speech, it rules what we look at, rules what we hear, it rules what we speak about, how we are responding, how we think is all this ruler, this energy, this God power within us, this divine energy. And yet, we can use divine energy in a way that's not beneficial for ourselves or the world around us. Now, a lot of people have got into a habit of saying, well, they did this to me in the past, so of course I'm going to react this way. Of course you would react this way based on an injury that you've had in the past, but is it your divine energy that you're working through? So we have become very used to giving ourselves the out. Well, of course, don't you think that's natural? This is what they did to me, or this is what they didn't do, or this is what they didn't say, or they didn't call, or anything. And we find a reason for being less than our divine energy. So when I'm sending not positive energy, so even, I really just don't like that person, I can look at myself and say, I'm not sure why, but there's something that doesn't bring out the best energy. How do I get to my best energy? This is learning for me. And this is important for us to recognize because we have this ability. And over time, we have chosen to not practice this ability of being in a divine space, in a compassionate, a kind, a loving, a giving, a well-meaning space. So even if I don't say anything and I'm carrying some hurt or some anger or some irritability, I don't say anything and I can give myself a pat on the back of how good am I that, I know what they did last year, but I'm not saying anything. How tolerant of me. Ego. And it's not really truth, right? It's even though that the action is showing that you are being tolerant, the mind is not. The mind puts out much more energy than our words or our actions. Our actions are few, our words are few. Oftentimes, sometimes our words are many, but let's say in one day we said many, many words. Oh, but we'll carry a thought for days, months, years. And this is an important thing to understand about ourselves because the power of thought is very, very strong. So imagine this is an energy that's moving. This is Shiva. Shiva is holding this. Shakti puts it into action. So the movement of it is Shakti. Shiva can still this energy to use it as a beautiful, compassionate energy that, wow, I bet there's something for me to learn in this. Even if it develops my sense of patience, my sense of understanding, let me try to understand this situation and why my system feels like this. And sometimes people will find a reason in terms of, I've just met this person, I don't even know anything about them, but I'm pretty good with judging people and I get the heebie-jeebies when I see this person. And sometimes over time it's like, oh yeah, because they remind me of Uncle Jim, and Uncle Jim was so rude to me, and Uncle Jim stole from me, and Uncle Jim whatever. Uncle Jim might still be alive or might not be alive, And yet Uncle Jim's energy has come through this person, let's say. It stimulated your mind and your memory for something to work on. And when we work on it in terms of, I have not been forgiving towards this energy, whether it's Uncle Jim or this person, this sort of energy has come to me, how do I work with it in this space? And so today I thought I would focus on this because a lot of people do here, at least, pray to Shiva. There is a very well-known term, which is again a mantra, which is Om Namah Shivaya. And this, in terms of Shiva, this is again, there's such a value. There's so many Shiva temples in Bali, and of course all around the world. And a lot of times people don't understand what is it. It's kind of like the answer to all of my concerns because there's so much power in Shiva. There's so much power in stillness is what is important to understand. The stillness with loving energy flowing from us. The stillness with fuming at the back of our minds or holding on to resentment is not a power at all. So when we're looking at this and understanding divine energy through ourselves, and if you're using Shiva as an example, understand what it is we are developing. So I thought I'd finish today with one quotation, which I thought was fantastic also. It says, without Shakti, Shiva is just a statue, a symbol of potential waiting to be awakened. And to me, I find this so beautiful. Like when we think about this, that, okay, this is a statue. So it's representing this power of stillness, a power, a very, very powerful energy of stillness. And when we say that it's just a statue, it doesn't do anything as it's holding on to this, as you hold on to, I'm good, I am divine, I am strong, I am stable, I am not affected by the things around me, I am centered. Yet if I don't do anything with that, if I don't do anything, so if I don't actually make at least the first intention of spreading a positive energy of a thought, then leading to a word, and then leading to an action, it's just a statue. And so today I would love for you to be still, understand the statue energy, and understand also that the only way this statue can actually perform and create in this world is by moving through Shakti. I wish you a powerful day of Shiva Shakti, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.